What is good, YouTube? It's Joey, and today we're coming with the NFC North outlooks, free agency breakdown for all of the divisions. We're covering the NFC North divisions today in this video, but before we get to it, a little video update. Yeah, sorry, I haven't been able to upload daily. I've been out of the house. Some of my videos have been taking so long to edit with the processing, but I found a new video editor. So, I mean, I'm going to try that out. Maybe that takes less time, but anyways, I had a Madden video out for about 7 minutes, and just to give you an update on that, that is needing further processing. I wasn't done editing it, so it might be out tomorrow afternoon or Tuesday. We'll see, but yeah, I just needed to cut some more stuff out and add some music back in. And by the way, like and subscribe. You will want to be subscribed because 200 subscribers special, we are coming with the Packanoles rebuild. I will create them on Madden 12, and we will actually rebuild the Packanoles. And also, another announcement, we are streaming the NFL Draft. We are streaming it. I believe that's April 29th. That's the first round. I'll also schedule a live stream for day 2, day 3. We're going to have draft coverage, live reaction. I'm going to be watching it on my phone right here, just like that, and reacting to the draft. So, yeah, with that all the way, let's get into the video. Andy Dalton is now the Chicago Bears quarterback. 1 year, $10 million, $13 million incentives. Yeah, this is definitely. I don't get it, man. I don't know what the Bears are doing. I don't like this. I'd give it a D. I mean, you needed a quarterback, but you have Nick Foles on that contract. I mean, Andy Dalton's not good. They traded like so much for Russell Wilson, and they're like, nah, we're just gonna get Andy Dalton since Seattle declined it, and it just makes me so happy, man. Trubisky brought me a lot of happiness, and I think we'll get some more with Andy Dalton. But yeah, this is quite a bit of overpay. Andy Dalton was not good in Dallas last year, had a bad O-line, but still, like, he's going to have a bad O-line with Chicago and less talent at the receiver position. No disrespect to Allen Robinson, but Dallas had like 3 number 1 caliber receivers, so, and the Bears just don't have that. So the Bears still need a long-term answer at quarterback. They've been trying to get a franchise quarterback. And the thing is, they went 8-8 last year, and it was actually kind of a curse because that means Nagy and Pace stick around, and then the Bears they don't get a high draft pick either. They make the playoffs, and why even make it if you're just going to get knocked out in the first round? Like, what's the point? Lower draft pick and everything. So maybe it was good the Bears beat out the Cardinals to make the playoffs. But anyways, Damian Williams, 1-year deal. The Chiefs running back, former Chiefs running back, was actually performing well in the playoffs, but has not really had that consistency. He did prove to be a good receiver out of the backfield and a good runner. They definitely could have used someone to complement Montgomery. I think Damian Williams does that. Montgomery is probably still going to be the lead back, but definitely good move. Low deal. I'd give it an A. Allen Robinson franchise tagged him. That's going to be quite a bit of money for them. Quite a big cap hit in year 1. Robinson's a good player, but they still haven't traded him. I think it would have made more sense if they tagged and traded Allen Robinson, but they don't. They keep him around. That kind of move is more like a win now mode, and the Bears are in no place to win now right now. They have so many holes all over their roster, so I mean, it would have made sense if you tag and trade him. He's a good player, but he's going to be gone after this year anyways, so it's like, what's the point? But I get it, C+. They get Jermaine Afedi, a 1-year contract worth up to $5 million, and they get this O lineman. These are depth moves. Urfedi, I don't know, $5 million. They have to have depth along that O line. They still need help on that O line. They're probably going to take receiver, a tackle, or something in the first round. But they get Mario Edwards, 3-year, $11.5 million. They just needed someone else on that D line. They have Akeem Hicks and on that D line, but they kind of need some more guys in there. Mario Edwards is decent, but it's a good deal, I guess. I'd give it about a B minus. That's the long term deal. You have to hope it works out if you're a Bears fan. They get this depth right here, and then this depth here with all these three guys, Blackson, Atachu, and Artie Burns. Definitely need depth all along that roster for Chicago. Makes sense. But they get Desmond Trufant, who was so disappointing for Detroit last year. See, here's the thing with the Bears and how they're one of the biggest losers of free agency, because they cut Kyle Fuller to save cap space, and they save a lot of it, but they just decide to get worse. They just decide to downgrade. Desmond Trufant was just not good last year. He was like a burnt piece of toast on the Lions last year, and he had injury concerns. And Kyle Fuller was one of the better corners in the league, and you just let him go to Denver. And it's like, if you're a Bears fan, it's just a punch in the gut. They don't really get better at all, really don't. I'd give it a B minus because it's a low cost filling a need, but they created a hole, and it's to clear cap space, but you better use that money to do something. Like, I just don't get it. Deion Bush, 1-year deal. These two safeties, they need depth there. They get Carlos Carrios Santos back, and then they get a punter and a long snapper. So overall grade for the Bears it's probably going to be a D, close to an F. I mean, the franchise tag Allen Robinson, yes, it was a win now mode, but they don't really get better. They cut Kyle Fuller. They sign Andy Dalton. It's really confusing. They let Trubisky go. They have Foles on that contract. It's really bad for the Bears. They don't really get better at all. They get worse. So, yeah, I'm just not a big fan. They're going to have to develop players quite a bit and hit this home run in the draft. It seems like the Bears are kind of in that rebuilding stage. They just can't find their franchise QB, and then they let a great corner go, and then just downgraded there. So it's confusing. But here with the Lions, they get Jared Goff in a trade for Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford and the Lions were agreeing to move on from each other. The Lions get a third-round pick and first-round picks next year and in 2023, and they give up Matt Stafford. So it's kind of a win for the Rams if they win now and get a Super Bowl ring, but they're just really just closing the door for their future. This is a win for the Lions. I really like this move because Jared Goff, he's not an ideal quarterback. I don't think he's going to do well on that current team. Maybe they get an explosive receiver in the draft, and that helps him improve. But then again, he had receiver talent and a great offensive mind in Los Angeles, and still disappointed. But the thing here is, this speeds up the rebuild. The third-round pick and the 2 first-round picks, if they can draft. If you don't draft good players and you don't develop, it doesn't matter because they turn out and bust. But this is quite a good trade for aging QB that, was on a rebuilding team, bad team. You get a lot of draft capital to rebuild, so that's good for a rebuilding team. They get Tim Boyle as a backup. That's a pretty decent backup quarterback. Jamal Williams. Now, this deal is pretty good, so I'm going to grade this trade an A up above. And then the Jamal Williams signing, it's a pretty cheap signing, and they get a good running back. If Aaron Jones wasn't there, he's a capable number one, and he's shown he's good splitting a backfield. They're going to split a backfield with DeAndre Swift, so I like this move for the Lions. Jamal Williams is a competitor. He has a fiery attitude. He's going to put all the work that it takes to bring his team the most success, and it's not really that big of a contract. So I like this. He's a good weapon out of the backfield, power, hard runner. Good for them. They get Brashad Perriman 1 year, $3 million. They had to. They let Galladay and Marvin Jones go, so they need someone there. It's low money, so he's probably not going to be a starter, but he's got that speed. It's just like he's not really that good, but again, it's a low contract, so I give it like a B minus. But Tyrone Williams, 1 year, 4.7. As of right now, max value of 6.2. So as of right now, he's going to be their number one. If the season started today, he would be their best receiver, which is obviously not ideal. He was decent for the Raiders. I think that was his last team. But Lions definitely need receiver help. They did good signing these guys at cheap deals. It looks like they're going to target receiver in the draft. So far, the Lions are doing okay. They get Josh Hill on a cheap deal, so to play behind as depth behind T.J. Hawkinson, who's their best offensive players, and now they get Charles Harris as a depth, but they re-signed their guy Okora to a 3-year deal worth $39 million. And then you can see the rest of the deals or the details here. 14 mil signing bonus, 26 million over the first 2 years, 20 million fully guaranteed, 5 million guaranteed for injury. So it's quite a bit of money, but Okora was one of their best edge rushers last year. He's a young player continuing to get better, alongside with Trey Flowers, who is their best, most proven veteran pass rusher. So they needed to retain him. It was quite a bit of money, but they had to do it. They had the cap space to do it. So again, when you can retain your players and not create a hole there, it's good. So B for them, good for them. But they also trade Michael Brockers. They get him in a trade, and they only give up a 7th round pick. That's not even from this year, not from next year, but from 2023. That's virtually nothing. That's virtually no value. So, but they do have to pay him this contract, 3-year, $24 million. So they're gonna take on some cap hit for the next 3 years. But again, they get better. They needed the guy there in the interior of the defensive line after Danny Shelton left. They need all the help they can get on defense. So they get him for 3 more years, since that's what his contract is as of now. So it's like they might have him for some of the rebuild, and maybe if they get good and develop, then they'll have a good nose tackle still there. But they get Alex Anzalone on this cheap 1-year deal. They need linebacker help. But again, these 1-year deals for rebuilding teams, it's like, you're kind of rebuilding. Like, what's the point of getting these guys if you're not close to contention? But Anzalone's definitely an upgrade at linebacker for them. They get Quentin Dunbar on the 1-year cheap deal. I broke this down in another video along with the Sam Darnold trade, but Quentin Dunbar has been injury prone and inconsistent, but he's definitely an upgrade at corner. These are cheap deals, so if they break out, then they'll be commanding big money. But the Lions get this depth at safety, a depth DB, a long snapper, and a kicker. So overall, the Giants, or I mean, not the Giants, the Lions are rebuilding. Um, I like the Jared Goff trade. I like the Jamal Williams signing. I like the Michael Brockers trade. So I like some of these signings at receiver, and then they should get a really explosive playmaker in the draft. Um, I give them a B. They could have done more, but I like these moves. They're rebuilding, kind of getting some pieces, for the future, and trying to start this new era. So it's going to be interesting with the Lions. It seems like they've been rebuilding for as long as they've existed, but I definitely give them a B. Now, the Green Bay Packers, this list is short. It is very short. So, the biggest move by far was re signing Aaron Jones, 4 years, $48 million, including a $13 million signing bonus. So, he has $20 million over the first 2 years, and then the roster bonus is on the third day of the new league year in 2023, so they have to restructure him before that in 2 years, and then 16 million due in 2 years from now, and 12 million in 2024. So they could kind of restructure his deal in like 2 years and kind of move on from him from there. But I mean, we kind of underpaid a little bit. He could have gotten more money. Aaron Jones was really good for us, but I would have rather retained Corey Linsley in the interior of the offensive line and kept AJ Dillon and maybe get Jamal Williams back. I would have rather had that. But Aaron Jones is just a really special player. The way he has that acceleration and that boost and that vision and what he can do out of the backfield as a receiver just makes him so elite and so special. So I'd have to give this a B plus. He's not really going to wear and tear as much as other running backs do because you have Aaron Rodgers in that pass game, and he's going to face those lighter boxes, which makes his job a lot easier. So when Aaron Jones is on, this Packers team is just so much better. So it's ironic because just coming off the worst game of the year to the number one run defense, best team against the run in Tampa Bay in that NFC Championship, where he just got absolutely smacked, fumbled 2 times, couldn't really get anything going. But he's a really good player. I think it's worth it. Again, I'd rather keep Linsley and keep Williams if you could. They clear all that cap space. I would have rather restructured Rodgers, but they're trying to move on from him and get the Jordan Love era going. So, anyways, Mercedes Lewis, 2-year, $8 million, $2.1 million guaranteed. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in football. He's coming back for 2 years. He's getting pretty old, but he's showing he can still play. It's pretty low money. We're still above the cap for this year. You keep him for a couple years, maybe a couple years that the Super Bowl window may still be open. So it's good depth at tight end. I'd give it an A. He's a pretty good player. It's a cheap deal. You get Tyler Lancaster, team deal. Tyler Lancaster's not good, but you need that depth, so that's necessary. But this is the interesting one. Kevin King, 1 year, $6 million. It's just Kevin King is so inconsistent, and it's just so frustrating. In 2019, it was his best year with like the 5 interceptions and whatnot. And I thought coming into this year, he really and he played a full 16 game season, I believe, in 2019. And I thought, oh yeah, him and Jair are going to be like one of the best duos in football, but that's not it. I mean, it's a low risk contract, but there's still a big need at corner. The championship game was just awful. He needs to stay healthy and consistent. Maybe like he struggled in the scheme. The Packers were just not using him right. So maybe he does better in Joe Barry's scheme. Maybe Joe Barry uses him better. Who knows? But I'd give it a B minus. I really thought we could have gotten another corner like maybe Casey Hayward or Sherman or somebody like that on a similar deal, but he is young. It's just he's got to stay on the field and stay consistent. But you get Will Redmond back this behind. Outside of Darnell and Amos, after that in the safety group, the talent just dropped. So it's good to have that depth. And so, last but not least, you have the Minnesota Vikings. They get Amir Abdullah really cheap, $990,000, really cheap. So that's good for them. They get Chad Beebe on the cheap deal. So again, depth. Every team needs that. But this is the interesting one. They trade for Mason Cole, a center who was like the 31st or 32nd ranked center. So he is not good. But they gave up a 6th-round pick for him. So they need offensive line depth. But I believe they lost their left tackle. I'm blanking on his name right now, but they lost him to the Bengals. But they trade for Mason Cole. I give it a C. They didn't really give up that much, but a 6th-round pick could become better than Mason Cole is. He was just not good. They get Dakota Doiser back. They get Rashad Hill back, fully guaranteed, $2.3 million cap hit. Depth signings, but they're really still bad at O-line. They didn't really fix these first 5 moves. They didn't fix anything. These are just, unless they just break out randomly, but these are depth guys that are just. Mason Cole is probably going to start, but he's just not a good center. So they get Weatherly, the depth. They still need a really good edge rusher opposite Danielle Hunter, and Danielle Hunter wants a new contract. So, but the bigger one here is Dalvin Tomlinson, 2-year, $22 million, $16 million guaranteed. Now this one's interesting. He's an interior nose tackle, so maybe they're looking to improve that interior pressure and run defense, and Dalvin Tomlinson can do that. Him and Michael Pierce could be really good in that interior, so that's good for them. They get better. I'd give it a B+. It's quite a bit of money, but then again, it's a good player. They get Nick Vigil, the linebacker, for depth. They get Mackenzie Alexander for depth at corner. But Patrick Peterson, 1 year, $10 million. He's definitely taken a step down. He's not that same self he was with the Cardinals, that lockdown true #1 corner. If he's a #2 and he has a good #1 on the opposite side and he's facing these lesser receivers, I think he could do better. He's still showing flashes, but he's just going to give up some catches, and he's going to give up yards, and he's going to give up touchdowns. And it's quite a bit of money, so I'm kind of iffy on it, but I give it a C+. It's probably an upgrade. They have a lot of young developing corners in Minnesota with Dantzler and guys like that. So it's definitely understandable. They need to get better in that secondary. A veteran like Pat Pete could help them out. And then they get Xavier Woods, 1 year, 2.25. That's going to be their Anthony Harris replacement. It's cheap, so good on them. That's like beef, great for me. But the NFC North was probably one of the quiet divisions in this offseason. I mean, there's some big moves, but again, I think it's still the Packers division. They didn't really get better. They didn't get worse. The Vikings are probably going to be their #1 threat to win the division. The Bears and Lions are rebuild mode. So it's a weak division still, but a quiet one and one to watch in the draft. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what other videos you want to see. And take it easy. Peace.